Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to interview you for my YouTube channel and podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for creating that space. I'm very grateful, and I'm always excited when I meet randomly new people.
So I thought to tell about the work that you are doing to my audience.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I thought to tell about the work that you are doing to my audience.
Okay,
So can you please introduce yourself?
sure. So my name is Virginie Glaenzer. I'm currently in New York City. I'm originally from France. I spent about 17 years in Northern California. And today I'm a fractional CMO. I work in an agency powered by women of experience, and we help entrepreneurs and small business owners adapt to the new world. And I will add that I'm passionate about the new economy, the Web3, um, anything that leads society and the world into a much better place.
So you're from France, but you came to US and you are into US from long time.
I have, yes. I moved in 99, actually 1998 to San Francisco Bay Area. Um, and I only had a few months of having enough money. I moved with my husband's with 4 suitcases. He didn't speak a word of English at the time. We lived in a Motel 6 for 3 months. We were drinking the hotel coffee and eating a 99 cents cheeseburger from Wendy's. And at the time, we had created a software company for which we were trying to raise fund and find people to join us on this adventure. And thank God, we did found the right investors. We did find the right team, and we stayed much longer than we anticipated.
So what made you to become what you are today?
Oh my God. I mean, I've been in the US for the last 25 years. First of all, I wouldn't be who I am if it was not for California. I think in Northern California, at least, um, there are really nice, not just nice people, but I think the environment allows you to become who you want to be. Um, and along the way, I met so many interesting people. Sometimes that led to really close relationships. Sometimes, one or two conversation. This could be also one of those conversation. Um, and as an entrepreneur, I really focused my attention on how do I become who I am, not who I am told to be. So I kind of over the years peel the onion of, what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be an executive, having a seat at the table, but yet not feeling really being heard? Um, and right now, I'm really fundamentally challenging the entrepreneur playbook that I was given, that I was molded into back in California. This idea that, the world belongs to us, that we can take anything we want without any consideration, that we only have one life, so it's very precious. This idea of raising fund from traditional investors and hiring people and putting them into boxes. I'm challenging all that. I think there's a new way, and I'm advising many small organization and early stage companies. I can see that there's a desire for a new way to be an entrepreneur, a new way to work in a team. And you've seen it, technology nowadays are enabling us to connect. I mean, you're in India, I'm in New York, and we're having this conversation. Remote working, is a reality. So you know, that's what I've been doing over the last few years, and who I'm trying to become is really to let go and unlearn a lot of old values, belief that are no longer helping us. Yeah.
So, what is motivating you? What is driving you? What is making you wake up in the morning and do a lot of things?
That's a great question. So there is one thing that makes me wake up in the morning, which is to, as I was mentioning, unlearning my past behaviors, but it's also exploring what could be. So I'm really interested in the Web3. Um, I fundamentally believe that we there's an alternative to this world of scarcity. I think, as I look at the world after the pandemic, I can see that there is a whole new set of societal values. Like people want, and when I say people, I'm also including myself in it, transparency, inclusion, and social responsibility. And so you take that and you add it to what's happening today. A lot of people think that there's a recession with disrupted supply chains or inflation, but it's not. There's no recession. What we're going through is an end of an era. And I can clearly see that the technology, the information age, has given birth to peer-to-peer networks and open knowledge, this ability that you and I have to connect, and this ability to have any type of information. This is making the barriers to industries crumbling. So there is an emergence of intelligent distributed organization, and I think that's a game changer. And that's why I wake up in the morning. I see a cornucopia of abundance. I see an abundance of information, education, services, global reach. And I want to understand how this abundance what kind of economy model and system can we create from this new reality that is just emerging. So that's why I'm waking up in the morning.
So, how do you relate the non-profession person in you and with the professional person in you?
Say that again.
How do you relate with the non-professional person in you with the professional person in you?
Oh, so, I don't consider myself, um, even though I have many voices in my head, I think of myself as one individual, and I don't see my professional life being separate from my personal life. I think it's something that has changed over the years. I remember when I was a kid, the business world was very different and separated from the personal lives. But I think nowadays, since we're connected 24 hours 7 days a week, it's just too hard uh, to create a separation. And in addition, because we all work, or a lot of people working remotely, it becomes on us to draw the line and know when do we need to take a break, when do we need to resource ourselves. And mental health is so important. And of course, because we're bombarded by information, it's even more important to assess on a regular basis what do we need in order to become healthy mentally, emotionally. So it's quite a challenge.
So, what you're learning doing your regular job?
So right now, I'm really uncovering a new business model, a new way to start a business. Um, for example, uh, I fundamentally believe that the brand that will succeed in the future will have a community within their DNA. And the idea of community, and it's a word that is being overused by people. Most of the time when you hear people talk about community, they talk about a bunch of followers or a WhatsApp group. But to me, community means creating a space where people feel a sense of belonging. And for an organization, it means that you're opening yourself up for potentially disrupting your vision of the business and giving the community not just a space for them to let you know what they want, the feature they want, but also you're giving them a co-responsibility. And with Web3 and the tokenization and cryptocurrency, there's an opportunity for brand to convert their consumers or customers that are really in a transactional relationship. So to convert those people into a long-term relationship, a relationship, because they can become stakeholders. Today, you can buy a stock of a public company, but you cannot buy a stock of a private company. And 95% of the economy is actually thriving because of small and mid-sized companies. So can you imagine if in the future, the store that you buy your vegetable and fruit, or any organization, any company that you buy produce or product from, you could have a way to become a stakeholder. So now you could tell and you could be engaged in the management or in the long-term management of this organization. So that's something that I'm really learning, is how do you remove and accept that you're losing control, to allow a small community of individuals to become co-creators and co-responsible of your own organization. So that's one thing that I'm fascinated by and learning. Community is the future of brand.
So you help organizations and the startups to build their to build uh, in building themselves. So how only for your part of the country, or you help entrepreneurs from around the world?
So most of my clients today are in the US, although I've had a couple of them from France, because I'm originally from France, so the language makes it very easy. When it comes to entrepreneurs, so individual, I'm actually part of a new organization that is called reapcommunity.co, and that is one of the sandbox, if you will, one of the experiments that I'm involved in to use this idea of community within the DNA, but also cryptocurrency as a way to reward members. And so in that community, and the community was just launched a few weeks ago, so it's really like a little seed that we have planted, and now we're trying to bring the right people and just trying to find, the audience that we can help. For those entrepreneurs, it can be in the world. It's just a matter of, being someone who wants to start a business, not for just the sake of making money, but to solve problem, to impact the world, to create a sustainable business. I think that's really the type of people that will thrive and do really well in this community. There's already plenty of community for entrepreneurs who just wants to make money, so are trying to, what are the shortcut or the optimization process or mindset. And even though I started my career as a growth marketing individual, so it was, sales and marketing was very intertwined. And the purpose of marketing was to become the growth engine of an organization. I think today there are much bigger challenge that needs to be addressed, where entrepreneurs can have an impact. And it's really, it requires a shift of perspective. Instead of thinking that as an entrepreneur, I can take it all, I can use it without consideration. those entrepreneurs who understand their impact in small communities, in local communities, or looking for a new form, a new playbook. And that's really what I'm trying to also, test and experiment.
So your career is so long. Do you have any particular experience that you cannot forget?
So defining, are you talking about defining moment in my career or in my
Yeah,
lifetime?
anything that is challenging, and any problem that you have solved very smartly.
Oh, um, well, one of the biggest issue for for entrepreneurs is to raise money. It's being an entrepreneur is a bleeding job, even though the cost of resources and people have really gone down. So it's easy to start a company. I can only tell for the US market, but starting a company, a legal structure is less than $300. You have so many SaaS platform. It's really easy, but it's still a very lonely experience. And I think finding the right community for an entrepreneur, and that's what I'm trying, that's what I'm part of at Reap, is a game changer. Thinking that you don't have to be alone, that it doesn't have to be a bleeding experience. You can actually be paid for your skills. I think that is a game changer. So that's one thing that I've found really revealing and helpful. Um, the other aspect is the cryptocurrency. I think that is an empowering tool and mechanism for a lot of entrepreneurs who may not have the funding nor the revenue to attract the right talent. And right now, the only thing that people do is they would give you stock, right? But stock can only be um, converted and liquid once the company either is being purchased, or if you go to the NASDAQ, you become a public company, which is unlikely. These are one company out of 10. But with the cryptocurrencies, you can create a token that has value. And by building the right partnership, you make that token expandable. You can convert that token and use it with other partners. So that's something I think that will be a game changer as well. So those are the two things. Now there's still plenty of challenge, like most of the client that I work for, or a little bit or challenged because of this remote working. With the pandemic, everyone wants to work remote. I mean, the idea now of spending 30 minutes to an hour commuting every day, back and forth, what a waste of time and so much more stress. And I think a lot of organizations just don't know how to manage remote teams. So that's a big challenge. And I do help my client to understand, how do you build a culture? How do you empower people so they thrive at home, but they also feel close to the company, the team? What kind of technology can you use in addition to Zoom or online meetings? I think VR is going to eventually replace Zoom, because in a VR environment, and right now we have this bulky headset that are really not a good experience, but I think we're going to see a lot of new headset coming up soon. But if you and I were in a VR environment, our brain would be tricked into believing that we are close physically, because I could touch your avatar. And by being close, it creates a sense of empathy. And so that empathy is what's missing with Zoom. I can see your face, but I don't really feel you. And so when you have empathy with people, you work a lot better. You're more open, you're more curious, you trust people more. I think it's going to be a game changer again with VR. So those are some of the challenges that we're still have not figured it out.
Do you think the technology is going to replace human beings?
Is the technology going through a shift?
Replace human beings?
Oh, replace? No, no. It's interesting to see all the fears that we have, right? Of course, automation is going to replace a lot of um, automated work. Um, and it's going to be, I don't have the answers. Everyone who says, oh, I know what the future holds, I think has smoked way too much. I think no one knows, and the future is an illusion. It carries our hope, but it also carries our fears. And I think for me, thinking of the future is an opportunity to face our fears. What am I afraid of? And if people are afraid of being replaced by technology, it means that they haven't really found what makes them unique. Because every being, every human is unique. And we are at the end of this era that was built with the industrial world. In this industrial world that we're still very much in it, the purpose of human was to be replicated, put into a small box, and optimized. That's why we have cubicles in an office. So everybody has their task and they perform. They're like mini robots. So of course, you know, we should replace those people with robots, because um, it doesn't feel right to be sitting at a desk 8 hours every day and lose yourself. And you know it just doesn't feel right. We have to, humans are creative, they are curious, they are compassionate, and out of those elements that are fundamental to a human, something else will emerge. Robots are not curious, they're not compassionate, they're robot, they are machines that, and of course some people may say, well, you can't teach a robot to have empathy. I would like to see that. I think it's more a science fiction novel at this point than a reality. But I'm a big fan of, carless, what do you call the autonomous driving. I cannot wait to be picked up by a cab in New York where there's no one. Because from a productive standpoint, I will know exactly at what time I arrive. I will know that the driver or the car is very focused and is not trying to make the route longer to be paid more. So anyway, it's a really fascinating topic. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the same.
Do you think technology will replace humans?
I think, like you said, the automation is going to be for sure, and also a lot of human jobs is going to be, machine is going to do a lot of human works. I think as a technologist, I'm a technologist. I did masters in software engineering and bachelor's in computer science and engineering. So according to my knowledge, data governance is going to play a big role, and who is going to govern it and how it is going to manage, and how the security, data security, and all these things are going to be is going to play a very crucial role. But human emotion is emotion. The machine cannot replace the emotion. So,
Yeah. And even, I think every time we think of the future, it's a way to de-empower ourselves, because the future doesn't exist. All it does, it causes stress and anxiety, especially on topics that are so big. So I would rather focus on the present and, think of, who can I help today? What problem can I solve? That to me is a lot more empowering.
so you started your career as an entrepreneur, and now you're helping uh, uh, entrepreneurs in solving their problems. So how you look at solving problems?
That's a great question. Interestingly, since I've been in the US, I found that Americans are very good at solving problem because they're rushing to the solution. They want, you know, 5 steps. They want, tell me what to do and I'll do it. They're very good at bringing into the market solutions. But I think in today's world, we have to have a different approach to problem solving. Instead of rushing to looking at all the possible solution and doing some research, I think we have to resist the urge to finding the outcome. And instead, the way that I'm trying to practice now problem solving is to create a space, invite people, and just discuss without rushing to that solutions. Because this idea of cause and effect is a way to reduce the solution. It opens up a new way of being in relationship with others. Whereas in the scarcity world, it's all about limiting the risk and trying to reduce the problem to a minimum problem. And again, there's a whole ecosystem and playbook for entrepreneurs we call MVP, right? This limited number of features that we think will make the product a success. And we're being, as entrepreneur, we teach entrepreneurs to have this MVP. But in the world of abundance, we recognize that the uncertainty is higher than the certainty. And so limiting, reducing doesn't increases the chance of success. And it also starts by redefining what is success. So what I like to do when I'm being given a problem, and for example, right now, my client yesterday told me, 80% of our leads, of our new clients, come from referral. We want to expand that. And so, instinctively or from a condition standpoint, I would in the past have rushed to setting up a team and brainstorming on how can we increase the referrals, where can we ask people, etc. But now we're having a brainstorming session on what is a referral. Why do people take the time to go to their network and invite those people into the platform? It's actually a SaaS platform. And so by having this kind of a way of deconstructing, I'm sure, and we haven't done it yet, but that's the approach that I use when I'm asked to solve a problem. I deconstruct the problem. And by doing this, it changes the game. First of all, it's very relaxing because you really have a place to be creative, to challenge your thoughts. You have to be curious and you listen to other people's perspective. That would be the way that I approach now problem solving, which is to step back, deconstruct, take the time for something else to emerge. And very often I found that it empowers people much better than pressing them to find solution or to optimize.
So you saw the technology evolution from all these years, right?
Yes.
So what is the change that you observed and that you are observing, and what do you think the next will be?
Well, to me, in marketing, which is really the breadth of experience that I have, marketing and entrepreneurship, I think technology is impacting the way people think of themselves. And I'm going to give you an example. So in marketing, we do a lot of content writing, to tell the story, to share thought leaderships or new idea. You would write a blog post. So there's an art and there's a number of skills related to writing, content writing. Well, there is a tool that I've been using for the past, I would say 6 months, which is called copy.ai, and there's plenty of others. These are SaaS platform that generates content. And you would think, well, how can a machine, write content if it's not going to be really well, meaningful, relevant, on topic? Well, they do. It's really amazing how you can now write, even though you're not a writer, you're not a copy editor, you're able to produce a really great quality blog post. Now that is directly an impact from technology. And so what it means is that the skills that people trained and acquired through experience of writing, this is no longer going to be a needed skill. And so the question is, well, so what are the new skills that, because of technology, we could develop, we could learn, or we could develop from scratch? And so I think that's an impact of technology in people's skill set and then sense of self. Because if you have to unlearn and learn something new about who you think you are, those skills, you're basically changing your identity. And when you change your identity, it can be very threatening. But once you go over the bump and the challenge of, oh, my identity is being threatened, then there's a whole world out there. And I was looking at your YouTube channel. You've started at least 3 years ago. Look at your video 3 years ago. They were completely different. Today, you've mastered a new skill. And I think that's because technology gave you the opportunity to become a podcaster, right? So that's an example of shifting your skill set because of technology, expanding the possibilities.
So, what do you say about the algorithms in technology?
I couldn't hear the other words. About what?
Then, what do you say about the algorithms in technology?
Are you talking about what area in technology you're talking about?
Algorithms.
Oh, algorithm. Got it. Algorithm. Well, what do I think? I don't know. I don't know those algorithm. It's from a marketing standpoint, I know that when you design advertising, you don't design advertising for people to read them, but you design them for algorithm. I also have a podcast, and one of the topics that we've explored last year as a group was around ethics and technology. And I can only hope that the engineers that are coming out today from schools, because algorithm is about they're really coded and trained for specific outcome. And we know that how technology is a bias. How do I say that? Algorithm or the reflection or the mirror of humans. And if those humans and people who are designing them are not careful, they will put into those algorithms all the negative characteristic of humans, which is, fearful and bias, with lots of biases and judgmental. And if it was me, I would really encourage those big tech companies to have a group of ethics or an ethical discussion to talk about how do we build algorithms that are honest or that are non-biased, inclusive. How do you do transparent? How do you do that? So this is a really key topic, and we can see that the consequence of having technology that haven't been thought with those new values that a lot of people crave, transparency, diversity, inclusion. As a result, a lot of people are quitting social media. They're quitting online advertising. They're quitting because they don't feel or they feel that they're being abused. And there are absolutely emotional abuse happening on the internet, on social media, that comes from algorithm. Yeah. And the new I would not want to be one of a new generation. Like, I have 3 daughters who are millennium. No, they're Gen Z. They are learning to find the balance between addiction, phone addiction, social media addiction, peer pressure, and finding when they have to stop using their phone and go into nature or lock the phone in a box. It's not easy. Yeah.
So, what is the best experience that you have?
Meeting people like you. Because it's random, because it's a wonderful space to share. You're helping me even think, as I'm sharing out loud my experience and some of the things that I really care about. It helps me make sense. So the best experience in my entire career were the people that I met, whether it was in California, France, New York. New York is just an amazing city. And I can't wait to continue as one of my project is to become nomad in the next few years. So minimalist and nomad, just to meet for the pleasure of meeting people.
So, what are your present projects?
So right now I'm continuing to be a fractional CMO. I consult with small organizations, usually 1 to 2 days per week. I'm also involved in a few early stage startups. One is called the Yin Leadership Network, helping women to find their voices and carry their story on social media in a more optimized way for them to speak and write. And then the REAP community.co is a new form of entrepreneur incubator in a way. It helps entrepreneurs who are already on the market to go to their next phase of growth with a different mindset. And I've been talking to a few organizations to not necessarily come back to a full-time position, because I think when your remote full-time no longer exists, it's about identifying project and making them happen. But I'm also talking to a couple of companies to maybe get myself a little bit more included or involved as a CMO or VP of marketing, which is my strong suit. Oh, and then one last thing. Sorry to cut you off. One last thing. I'm writing a book on the economics of abundance with Jean Russell. I'm very excited. We've been working together for the last 3 months at least, and some of the idea that I brought today during our conversation, we're creating a new framework to show that there could be an economy based on this idea of abundance, which is a reality. So I'm excited about this, and I'm hoping that we're going to launch it in a few months, maybe.
So after launching, let me know. I will interview you again about asking about the book.
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to come back and give free books to anyone who wants to shake their mind and unlearn some of the deepest beliefs that are ingrained in our behaviors and society from long time ago, which is not an easy thing to do. but it's quite unsettling.
So at last, as an entrepreneur, there will be a lot of technologists and experts who are into IT industry, technology industry from all over the world will be listening to you and will be watching you now from anywhere on this planet, from any region. So do you want to say anything to them?
Oh my God. Well, if you are in marketing, sales, and in technology, I think it's it's a little bit overwhelming because things are changing very fast. But the key to my own sanity is to have found a few people, a small community, to be part of multiple communities where I'm able to have a safe space, share my concern, understand things that I don't understand. So I'm part of a community on regenerative practices, another one on entrepreneurship, another one on being a woman, and that really helps. So I would invite everyone to find their kindred communities to relax and make and help them make sense of the world.
So finally, your observation about my work.
An observation about your world?
Your observation about my work.
Your work. Well, as I mentioned to you, I think your YouTube channel has really nicely evolved. It's becoming more and more sophisticated. I can see it with the screen that you have at the beginning. I would invite you to find or suggest a music, the same music to when you on the video. And there's tons of free music that you can find because it would create an even better experience as people read the bio and the first few screens before the interview starts. And otherwise, I'm very impressed by the number of podcast channels that you are on. There's a few that I actually was not aware of. So thank you for that. And yeah, otherwise, I think you have so many different people from different walks of life. It's really interesting.
So I'm a software engineer. I did masters in software engineering. I have technical background. So how talking with experts like you who are already in the industry, who are making things possible, who are creating, who are managing, who are doing so many things. Me talking with people like you and putting in my mind how I'm going to how this experience is going to help if I work in IT in coming days.
Well, what you're doing is already fantastic. Being a software engineer makes it a little bit more easier because then you can play with the video. I'm sure you can do things that other people are not able to do from a creator standpoint. And anyone who wants to connect with me, I'm pretty easy to find on the internet. My first name, last name, Virginie Glaenzer. I'm on you. I don't think there's any other person with my name. So on LinkedIn, on Twitter, I'm also on Instagram, which is not really interesting. It's just a bunch of pictures. So that's my album photo. But otherwise, LinkedIn and Twitter, I'm pretty much active. And we should definitely continue to talk together to see what else could come up from that.
I'll put your profile links on the screen. People who finds our video on YouTube can see it. And,
fantastic.
Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Oh, absolutely. More than welcome. And I'll share it on my social media. Absolutely. Yeah.
And also, can I put this video and audio clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media?
Absolutely. Yes, that was a wonderful conversation. And if it helps other people, absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. That was very kind of you.
Thank you. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much, Ty. I will talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.